dell'assetto istituzionale, cioè un governo aperto invece che un governo chiuso, che fa la differenza rispetto alle modalità di coinvolgimento dei cittadini, però noi torniamo invece sulla questione del giornalismo. Adesso do la parola a Simon Rochers, che è il direttore del data blog e data store del quotidiano Guardian inglese, che ha aperto appunto un settore dedicato proprio ai dati in formato aperto e che ha fatto di questo un settore di punta, soprattutto dalla sua edizione online, ma anche di quella cartacea. Riprendendo il titolo del nostro panel, Ernesto diceva: il mondo sta per essere sommerso di dati, i giornalisti sapranno dargli un senso. Questo è un problema appunto perché non bastava che Ernesto rilanciava che i giornalisti non potranno essere autosufficienti, avranno bisogno di coinvolgere in qualche modo i lettori, così come il governo aperto non può essere autosufficiente, ha bisogno di coinvolgere i cittadini, se no per rendere disponibili i dati soltanto non basta, ma è il primo passo per un diverso rapporto tra istituzioni e cittadini, un diverso rapporto tra giornalisti e lettori. In particolare uno dei progetti del Guardian è stato quello di, mi riallaccio anche sulla mia introduzione rispetto al progetto Open Camera nella Repubblica degli eletti e dei nominati. Uno dei grossi scoop del Guardian è stato quello di mettere a disposizione degli utenti credo migliaia, decine di migliaia di ricevute delle spese rimborsate ai parlamentari, rendendosi conto che non avrebbero potuto analizzare da solo, i giornalisti non avrebbero potuto analizzare da soli tutti questi dati, ha chiesto proprio ai lettori di dare una mano. Però appunto, per darvi la parola, ci sono stati degli altri panel in cui si è parlato di come i dati vadano inseriti in un loro contesto, perché da soli non significano nulla, come tutti i segni hanno bisogno del loro contesto per essere compresi, e quindi il ruolo del giornalista diventa anche quello di creare questo contesto e di rendere disponibili i dati in un contesto per cui poi sono comprensibili. Allora la parola sta a
Hello, thank you for having me, dear, and I'll really apologise now for everybody who's already seen me twice today, so I'll try and say different things. So, let's talk about public data. Public data, open data, is one of those things that's very easy to say. We can also open data, we can also say transparency is good. It's a great way to get elected, because the great thing is it doesn't cost anything. I can't believe the American government spent $34 million on not that great websites, really. They're not brilliant. Data.gov.uk, UK costs £250,000. Okay, and I would argue it's a better site. So something doesn't have to be expensive. It's not inevitable, it has to be expensive. But what America did for us is it opened the way. It was the first open data site, it set the precedent around the world, and now you have sites in America, Australia, in all places that are on the map we saw earlier. Now, what is interesting to me is actually as a journalist, a lot of that information is already out there. All these sites do often is provide a portal. It's a way, so data.gov doesn't really release much new information. I've never seen anything on data.gov. Data.gov in the UK does have lots of new information. When the new government came into power in the UK last year, they released what they referred to as a tsunami of data. What did that mean? Well, it meant things like that the UK Treasury, for instance, has an enormous database. Every time any money is spent, public money is spent in the UK, they record it on the database. Governments love recording information. It's like they love doing that. What they don't like doing is sharing things. Anyway, they record this information on the Coins database. So we thought, we want to see this database. We want to see how much money is being spent on our streets, exactly how much money is being spent there. And the new government came and said, we will release coins to the world. We will let you have this database. And so we thought, this is great. We're going to get all this free new information. And what we actually got was the most confusing possible release. There were hundreds of spreadsheets. There were they released them by BitTorrent, which is ironic for a government department to do that. And nobody knew what they were. Nobody knew how it worked. It didn't even include the information we wanted. It was disappointing, to say the least. But it was a big step, because you kind of think, well, if they have to release that information, what can they keep secret? What can they really justify keeping secret? And it gets down to the point, well, maybe what's about is keeping stuff secret was about national security and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through some of the things that we've done with official open data. And some of them have been things we've been given by the government, and some have been things that we've had to go and get ourselves. So I'm going to start with this thing here. This is a graphic. It's actually from the newspaper. I know it seems a bit retro to have a graphic that doesn't interact, but actually it's, I'm still really proud of this, the newspaper graphic. We do this once a year, and this shows public spending by government department in the UK. Each of those circles is a government department. Now you think to get that data, we would just ring up the Treasury, say, you just send us a spreadsheet which says how much each department spends and what they spend the money on. And if we live in America, maybe we could do that. But here, not so much. What we had to do, we had to go to every government department's website, and then they publish their annual accounts, which they do once a year, and they publish them as a PDF. Now, everybody can know PDFs are a great way to share things like these images. They're a wonderful way to share words, but as a way to share data, they are the worst possible format. They're created as a way of making it look like people are releasing data without really doing it. So we have to go through this data. For instance, it has things, so we want to find out, there's a red one there in the middle. It's not that big actually, even though Britain spends, the only country that spends more than Britain on defence is China and possibly the United States. We spend a lot of money on weapons, but it's not as much as we spend on benefits. You can reach a lot more. But say, for instance, we want to show on that chart how much we spend on Afghanistan and Iraq. And it's not in the official accounts. We have to ring up the press office, and you can ring up, say, the Guardian, and they give you the figures. And every year we do this. Now, this is the third time we've done this chart. And we get 3 or 4 government departments to contact us, asking for the information because they don't have it, including something called the Central Office of Information. It's kind of a worrying thing. So, but that, in a sense, that is visual data journalism. It's data with government data that should be open, which we should have easily accessible. But actually, we didn't spend those at that time going through those reports would have data. The other thing, which makes this data even worse to get hold of, is that so you and I know how much we spend. Yeah, we know if we spend €1, we know that that's €1 spent. And in government terms, what they would do is they would say it's actually 50 cents of one thing, 50 cents of another. They split public spending in half. They have something called departmental expenditure limits, something called annually managed expenditure. And really, nobody really understands. Even in Whitehall, it's difficult to find people who understand why this goes in one way. Often what it means is one half of that budget is administration, another half is stuff they have to spend on. And you have to go and put that stuff together. You have to understand what that spending means. So it's very confusing. This is the moment in the UK, all the debate is around cutting the deficit, how much we spend, where the money goes, and the fantastic work you'll see John does later. And yet that information is so hard to get hold of, even with the culture of transparency we have at the moment. So that's one. I'm going to show you something else that we've done. This is something which I mentioned earlier, where in the UK, MPs, members of Parliament, don't get paid particularly well. They get paid badly. They get about, if you're a member of Parliament, you get about £64,000 a year, which is how many euros? About 100,000, maybe 90,000 euros. And what they do, because a lot of MPs have to travel very far, they top it up with expenses by claiming stuff. So if you're a member of Parliament, you can claim for your office and your secretary, which is always useful, but you can also pay for your accommodation in London if, say, you're based in Scotland. You can claim for your travel, you can claim for your computer, and it turns out a lot of people are claiming for things like their Indian imported rugs, or their one MP who had a castle. He was a Conservative MP, obviously, and he claimed for a duck hunt, a special house for his ducks to live in, which is nice. And there's an investigative reporter, Heather Brooke, who's just a fantastic investigative reporter. So she fought to see not just the aggregated information, but the parliamentary authorities would tell you this is how much each MP claimed in total. We didn't want that. What we wanted was the basic information behind that. Every receipt from every MP that they claimed for. Every little thing they looked for. That's what we wanted. And the Parliament eventually they agreed to release that information. It had to be taken to court. It took 4 years to get it. And then somebody who worked in Westminster leaked that information to the Telegraph in exchange for a large amount of money. And suddenly, for weeks and weeks and weeks, it was a big story in the UK. It was all these scandals about people paying for massage chairs or duck notes, and the worst thing was what people MPs were doing was they were flipping their homes. They were pretending their second home was their first home, so they could get a grant to get it decorated or done up or whatever. Some MPs, even their husbands, paying for pornography and so on. It was just pretty bad. I don't know how it ranks next to corruption in Italy. Maybe it's the same. I don't know. But anyway, so what we realised was the government said, right, we